Hey everyone, hi, welcome back to my channel. Today I am going to be discussing episode 1 season 2 of Gilmore Girls, my favorite show of all time. I'm so excited to get into this with you. If you're new to my channel, know that I do talk about books and reading, and I have just incorporated Gilmore Girls onto my schedule because I love talking about what's giving me joy on this channel, and Gilmore Girls is that. So if you're liking the vibe, please subscribe, like the video if you like the video, and without any further rambling on, let's go ahead and get into the meat of this video. I'm gonna read the summary of episode 2 from this book. This book is The Gilmore Girls Companion by A.S. Berman, who was a super fan of the show and wrote this book about Gilmore Girls, and I really like the summaries. Here's what it says. Rory's first day at Chilton is the day from hell. From being late for school to her mother's ridiculous laundry day outfit. Before the day is out, she'll meet and inspire the wrath of Paris Eustace Geller after accidentally destroying her diorama and come up against the leering Tristan de Grey. While Rory finally stands up to Paris at school, Lorelai cancels the DSL internet connection Emily ordered for Rory and tells her mother that she will decide what's best for her daughter. Yet, at the end of the day, the girls have each other, and that's enough for now. I have been really enjoying this book, dipping in and out of it as I go through the show. It's been really, really useful. Let's talk about characters that were introduced in this episode and become reoccurring characters later on. The first being Madeline, Louise, and Paris. Oh, Paris. I love Paris Geller. One of my favorite characters. I love how angry she is. She's immediately threatened by Rory. You know, she steals Rory's file and realizes that Rory also wants to be a writer, a journalist, and is likely going to go out for the Franklin, which is Chilton's newspaper. And Paris does not like that. We also see that they immediately become enemies because Rory's locker gets stuck, and as she's like unsticking it, Rory does it with far too much force and slams into Paris's diorama and ends up completely breaking it. And like shattering it on the floor. And in class, Paris was just going to take the full blame for the project not being present in class. And Rory does the right thing, saying, hey, I broke the project. It was my fault. And so the teacher says that Rory can help Paris rebuild the project, and Paris wants none of that. She wants no help from Rory. She pushes her away, further like creating this divide and this enemies kind of feeling to it. But what's interesting, and the thing that I wish that they would have played up even more, is that Paris's ambition really lights a fire under Rory and really brings out the best of Rory's academia. And I think Paris has a lot to do with some of Rory's academic success because up until throughout the whole school day, Paris is the one that's answering the teacher's questions, like rapid fire style. She knows her stuff. And at the very end of the school day, Rory's like, hey, I can play that game too. And she ends up answering a couple of questions that the teacher asks before Paris can get to it. And so it is both furthering this divide between Paris and Rory, but it's also creating this fire in Rory that she has someone to compete with. She has someone to catch up to, or that she wants to be better than someone in the class. And I really like that dynamic for Rory and Paris, that Paris needs someone to soften her, which could be Rory, and Rory needs somebody to light a fire under her, which is definitely Paris. We meet Hanlon and Biddy Charleston. Actually, we just get a reference to Hanlon's wife, Biddy. Hanlon's the headmaster, and he has a recurring role. He's great. I love the name Hanlon Charleston, headmaster of Chilton. Just a great character. Okay, we also meet Tristan de Grey. Just the way he's introduced, he's like bad boy, comes into class late, but for a reason. They make it clear that he didn't just show up to class late, that he was, I think, on bereavement. There's a reference that he was on some sort of bereavement leave and now he's back. And, but what I don't like is that he's like, hey, Mary, I like the biblical reference. I like the biblical insults, but he's like, up to Rory, he's like, hey, Rory. He's being so gross. And he's like, I can even help you study. And Rory's kind of like, ugh, what am I supposed to do with this? It's a really good contrast to Dean, who is just so sweet and so charming and so Tristan is like the opposite of that. He's like creepy, like Creep City. I don't like him. And it's like very well established at the beginning that I just don't like Tristan. Another fantastic character, which is Jackson Belleville, who is the fruit vendor for the Independence Inn, comes in with peaches. Suki is like inspecting the peaches, but he is a reoccurring character. Actually, the real Jackson, whose name is Jackson Douglas, was married to Alex Borstein, Drella, the harp player. They were actually married for almost 20 years, from 1999 to 2017. And I just really like the actor of Jackson Douglas. I enjoy his easygoing attitude, the way that he and Suki have really wonderful banter. He just seems like a really nice guy, and I wish I would have seen his acting career take off more, because I think that he just plays such a grounded, down-to-earth role that comes off just genuinely sweet. Ultimately, we are introduced to 3 more characters who have reoccurring roles on the series. The first is Babbette and Morey. Actually, Morey's name is not mentioned, but Babbette's name is, and she is, I think, carrying a cat. It's established that she loves cats. It ends up being a whole thing. And we also know that she's very worried about the gnome mistreatment, that the gnomes are mistreated in Lorelai's yard. And this is not the first time, well, this will be the first time of at least 2 times that gnome mistreatment is mentioned on the show. I should keep track of gnome mistreatment. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm saying these words. The last character is actually Kirk. But in this episode, he's called Mick, and he is tasked to set up a DSL in Lorelai's home. And it's the same acting presence that Sean Gunn brings to the role of Kirk, but originally he wasn't going to take the role. Actually, I read about it in this book, but he wasn't going to take the role, and it wasn't really advice from his agent to take this teeny tiny little role for Gilmore Girls. But actually, Amy Sherman Palladino loved Kirk so much, or loved Sean Gunn as a quirky side character for the show so much, that she ended up incorporating this idea of a jack of all trades, a man who can only keep a job for one day and no more. And that's why we end up seeing Kirk in all of these different roles later on. But it was really Amy Sherman Palladino who couldn't get Sean Gunn's acting out of her head, and she insisted that he be a reoccurring character on the show. And I'm so glad, because he ends up being like one of the most loved side characters on the show. I'm going to try and run through these cultural references rather quickly. The first one, I love this scene, and I'll go into the scenes I loved in just a moment, but it is Rory eating whipped cream from the can straight into her mouth. Very down to earth, very quirky, very cute. And Lorelai is painting Rory's toenails red, because all private schoolgirls need to have painted toenails. And then Lane Kim runs up to their porch screaming that she has the newest XTC CD, not volume. It's actually called Apple Venus Volume 2. And then Lorelai abandons painting Rory's toenails in lieu of listening to this new CD that she's very excited about. The next reference is when Lorelai and Rory are gazing at Chilton and its grandeur, and there is a reference to the Hunchback in the Tower, which is The Hunchback of Notre Dame by Victor Hugo. And then Lorelai makes reference that her outfit looks like the chick from The Dukes of Hazzard, which is, I believe, Daisy Duke, or the woman that made Daisy Duke famous, because, you know, Lorelai's wearing a ridiculous outfit that looks like it could be from The Dukes of Hazzard. We also see that there is a reference to Schindler's List, Christiana Amanpour, Cokie Roberts, Oprah, Rosie O'Donnell, and one of the women from The View. We also see that as Paris is reviewing Rory's file, trying to understand who this girl is and what she came from, I think Madeline or Louise mentions that, oh, a real Dixie chick there. In English class, they mentioned Tolstoy, and Tolstoy's favorite author being Charles Dickens, and also Dostoevsky being influenced by George Sand and Balzac. So it was like other non-Russian influences on Russian authors. And then it goes back to Tolstoy saying that War and Peace and Anna Karenina were being influenced by David Copperfield, Great Expectations, The Tale of Two Cities, and Little Dorrit. And then there's also the biblical insult that Tristan says to Rory that we've got ourselves a Mary, which means that it was like Mary, Mary, Mother of God, someone that is innocent and pure. And then later on, just with the biblical references, if she was a bad girl, she might have been called Mary Magdalene rather than just Mary. The final two references from class, they talk about Shakespeare and Martin Luther. Miss Patty, when she's teaching dance, she tells one of her students that that's a new Harry Potter on your head. In a way, she's telling the child to make sure that it doesn't drop from her head. So we assume that she's learning how to stand and walk straight with that new Harry Potter on her head. And then when Lorelai confronts Emily at the hair salon, telling Emily that Emily herself has no right to insert herself into Lorelai's life, there is a reference to The Shining by Stephen King. I had a whole errand that I did, and now I'm back, and I'm here to talk about outfits. So Rory's outfit, we see her for the first time in her Chilton uniform. There is some variation among the Chilton uniforms. Sometimes we see the girls wear cardigans, sometimes they wear tights, but with Rory, they landed on the Chilton jacket, the very tailored look. She often wears the plaid skirt, and she wears socks that come right below her knees and the shoes. I really like this. I think it looks polished. I don't know if it's because I love the show and so the uniforms are nostalgic for me, but I quite like this on her. We also see that Lorelai's outfit is much like there's a lot of discussion on her outfit. She is wearing a tie-dye pink shirt, short shorts, cowboy boots, or like boots to go with it. It's an awkward outfit, truly giving Daisy Duke energy. And then over it to cover it all, which she does a poor job covering it, is like a jacket, a winter jacket. And so everybody comments on this. Rory's like, you're wearing that for my first day, and it's established that it's laundry day. Emily is, shocked at the outfit. Headmaster Charleston gives Lorelai a look. Luke mentions that the outfit was maybe not very appropriate for the first day of school for Rory, and that Lorelai's outfit is not appropriate for Rory's first day of school, and so does Miss Patty. So there's a lot of commentary about this very inappropriate outfit. Now, Lorelai ends up putting on the outfit she wished she would have worn to Rory's first day of school, which is a tailored suit skirt and jacket, matching set, and she wears a more casual top underneath, so it's not like a button down, but something a little more free-flowing. She actually pairs it with this red over-the-shoulder or crossbody bag, and I love this whole thing, and she's wearing heels with it. I would wear this. If I found this somewhere and it was totally in vogue to wear, maybe even if it wasn't in vogue to wear, I would wear this matching set. I think it's so cute. It's so chic, it's so timeless, y'all, and I just adore it. Now, going back to when she is wearing the inappropriate Daisy Duke-like outfit, we also see Emily, and Emily is wearing a matching set, a matching top and skirt set. She's looking very conservative, very polished, and it is a beautiful juxtaposition to the hot mess express that Lorelai is giving. One thing I noticed about Amy Sherman Palladino's writing is that we see Lorelai checking in with Headmaster Charleston's secretary, and she starts to go on this little spiral about how she named her daughter Rory because she was hopped up on Demerol at the hospital, and that Rory will go by any name, even hey you. And you notice this little mini spiral that actually it shows up in The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, which is another Amy Sherman Palladino show. But with The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, Amy Sherman Palladino takes that spiral and takes it to its furthest logical conclusion as Mrs. Maisel is performing her comedy sets. And we see a glimpse of that brilliance in Lorelai as she even starts to spiral in the second episode with Headmaster Charleston's secretary, which I thought was great. And I'm going to keep an eye out for this like spiral, ramble, funny, but like absolute dark hole moment that that she writes for her characters at times, particularly her leads, that Amy Sherman Palladino writes for her leads. So for Mrs. Maisel, for Lorelai, I'm going to keep my eye out for that because I want to see how Amy Sherman Palladino develops that style of writing. We also see Emily's quips. She is so rude sometimes. As they're leaving Headmaster Charleston's office, Emily says, "Do you need a ride? Or is your horse parked outside?" Poor girl. And then, you know, Emily also reminds Lorelai of their Friday night dinners, and she's like, "Dinner, Friday night, no spares, please." And you can just see just how hard Emily is on Lorelai and just how mean she can be. I think my biggest takeaway is we see the root of both Emily and Lorelai, the root of their issues, not the root of them, the root of their issues, I think, with each other and with their relationship. So we see Emily wants to pitch in. First, she wants to pitch in with some more outfit accessories that Rory can have for Chilton. Then we see that she wants to buy Rory a car and a parking spot at Chilton. And we see this continue, like the new internet line. And we see Emily wanting to help, but I've heard of this phrase that on the other side of the coin of helping is control, that it is just a way to control somebody. I'm just helping you. I'm also inputting my will, my desires, my influence on you by helping you. And we see that, and we see that Lorelai is very familiar with this, but she also has her own control issues because she's like, "I'm gonna work this out myself. I don't need your help." And really, that is where they constantly are butting up against each other. We have Emily trying to help and Lorelai pushing back on that help. But at the root of it all is control. They both want control over Rory, it seems like. That's who they're fighting over in this moment. And also just control over the influence and time and the way that we interact in each other, or the way they interact in their lives. And I just think that's so interesting that this seed is planted so early on, and that we see it taken at this moment with Emily to its furthest logical conclusion. And we also see Lorelai's willingness to stand up to her mom to say, "I don't want this. This is not what I want for my life. This is not what I want from you." But also it feels like that she's been doing it for ages. And it is her own way to control her own life, that she's telling her mom over and over again, like, "I'm going to be the puppet master of my own life." And I just think it's brilliant. It's brilliant. It's so relatable. It's so wonderful. I can see at times I'm Emily in my own life. At times I'm Lorelai in my own life. At times I want to help and I am just overzealous about my helping. And at other times in my life, I am so I'm so standing up to somebody who's trying to control me, or like trying to combat other people trying to help me. And I think in some ways it's a good thing, and in other times it's a bad thing, because at times I need the help and I won't take it, you know? And at times I want to help, but maybe my motivations are not pure. And it's not just one thing. Emily doesn't always try and help, as it's not always an evil thing. And that's why this show is so wonderful, because at times Emily is right and at other times Lorelai is right. And I loved seeing that. I loved seeing that dynamic in this episode, and played out so well. The episode ends with Lorelai and Rory reuniting, both saying that their day was terrible, and it ends with them back at the town, drinking their cup of coffee, like catching up from their day. And what's interesting is that Lorelai turns to Rory and she's like, "What do you think of Luke?" Because Luke and Lorelai have a moment where Lorelai is like word vomiting to Luke, and Luke reveals that he cares about her and that he doesn't want her to date a Chilton dad. And so that plants a seed that maybe there's something with Luke. And so she asks Rory, and Rory's like, "Heck no, Mom. If you date him and break up, she's very blunt about it. If you date him and break up, we can never go back to Luke's. And then there's this reference to why not date Al from Al's Pancake World, a place that is often referenced, but I don't think we've ever seen Al or Al's Pancake World. And she's like, Al has terrible food. And then they get an argument as to whether Al's food is actually terrible or not. With a perfect ending to a wonderful episode. I feel like it is miles above the pilot, even though I love the pilot. This is just establishing so much. The references, the banter, the root issues, and it's starting to really build out those characters that we know and love. Okay, so that's it from me. Let me know what you thought. What do you think of episode 2? I want to know. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. And now I have to go. I have to go to a thing. And I'll see you all in my next one. Bye!